Thank you, Mimi. I think that was a good lead into what I want to talk about. And by the way, what did you say PepsiCo had agreed to? Under 12? Right. I ask you to recall what was just shared with you and think about whether they are adhering to their promise. And I hate to pick on them, but I'm going to give another example from same company. Anyway, I'm happy to be here, and I'm also very happy to see that adolescents are on the agenda. They've been really largely overlooked in a lot of the academic literature on food marketing and very much ignored, really, and dismissed in the policy debates and policy discussions and self-regulatory initiatives. And yet, as everybody knows, adolescents are very much at risk for obesity. We also know they have a lot of spending money. They tend to go to fast food restaurants together with their parents nowhere in sight. They have access to digital communications. There are many, many things that teens do that we need to think about. We also know that they have some of their own developmental vulnerabilities, particularly to some of the techniques that Mimi just shared and some that I'll be talking about as well, that have to do with their brain development and their hormonal development and their moods and a lot of other things that are characteristic of adolescence. And as my mother used to always say, still says, you didn't need a government grant to figure that one out. You should have just asked me. You know, I raised teenagers. I know. So what I want to do, and some of you have seen this video, but not all of you, and it's just a very, very good illustration. Don't show it yet. I want to set it up. Thank you. It's just a very good illustration, really, of integrated marketing and of the range of techniques that are employed in today's contemporary media and marketing environment to target adolescents, to target teenagers. By the way, it's also good because it's a nice case study that the industry presents in very good graphic detail. And we filed a complaint. A number of consumer groups filed a complaint against this campaign, and I saw some stories on the web that said, maybe we shouldn't be putting up these case studies anymore for our award-winning campaigns that expose how all this stuff works. But it's been very useful for us to be able to show. So let me just share this with you quickly, if you now could run it. Thank you.
Last year, Hotel 626 scared millions of teens. What scared us the most though, was having to make the sequel. But frankly, scaring the crap out of teenagers was too fun not to try again. Welcome to Asylum 626. This Halloween, when Doritos brought back 2 flavors from the dead, we gave teens the scare they wanted. And then, we made it personal. The more information you gave us at registration, the creepier the experience. We use your webcam to bring you into the asylum in real time. Then, we use Facebook Connect to randomly pull 2 of your friends into the site. You decided who needed further treatment, and who, well, didn't. To push it one step further, we post updates to let the world know your choice. Ouch. You use head tracking technology to try and avoid a chainsaw-wielding madman. Then we invite your entire social network to try and save you.
Hey! Hey, stop it! Whoa, whoa!
Just when you think the site can't get any darker, we force you to administer the treatment. In order to make sure we moved bags of Doritos, we printed an infrared marker on each one. It unlocks the finale, the darkest part of the asylum, and of yourself.
Has a nice Halloween theme too, so I thought it might be a little timely. It's actually from a couple of years ago, but it's really emblematic of all of the integrated marketing campaigns that are really state-of-the-art now. and that employ digital. And of course, you know, the Doritos people know that teens are digital natives. They're online all the time. They're using their technologies on a daily 24/7 basis. And you can see it has a lot of the elements that Mimi talked about, including this idea of gamification. It's entertainment. It doesn't even look like advertising. Peer-to-peer. There's also this automated data capture of personal information. It's under the radar for most of us. And there is a measurable impact on sales here. So I want to talk about three contemporary trends as I talk about adolescence that I think are important to understand, because this is a very quickly emerging marketplace, and believe me, I've been tracking it very closely. It's hard to keep up with. There's a lot going on. I'm trying to sort of give big picture here about things I think we need to understand. And in the process of doing that, I will work in my attempt to answer some of the questions that I was asked to address in my presentation. So the first thing I want to talk about is this growth of social media. It's really now become a core strategy for reaching and engaging teenagers. We know that there are many, many teens online. A lot of us are online as well and are using social media. But for teenagers, they're particularly important. And having a Facebook profile is considered a required entry card into a social life that is increasingly played out in this virtual realm. Facebook is a key driver, and there is really a kind of Facebook economy emerging. And it's very, very important. I've looked at some of the academic research on social media and teens, and there's a fair amount. It's a pretty robust field that's emerging here to try to understand how teens are engaging with social media. And we're finding that it's an essential arena for their personal and their social development, that it clearly taps into their developmental needs for identity, for autonomy, for relationships with peers, and some authors have talked about how it's a network public culture. It's a place where teens can actually have a culture to express themselves when they're leading very constricted lives with the helicopter parents that some of us are, and are able to have more freedom and autonomy there. And one article also talked about it, social media as being a form of self-socialization, that it's a process by which young people are growing up through these social media, and they're sort of building their self-identities, which I think is an interesting concept. And we also know that social media are influencing and in many cases actually altering behaviors. Interestingly, most of these scholars don't take a look at all at marketing, don't pay any attention to the role of commercial culture in shaping all of this. And I have been looking at social media marketing, and I think we need to understand how different it is and what issues it raises for young people. It's woven now into their daily interactions and social relationships. It is designed really to take advantage of all of the relationships that are exposed and that are carried out in social media and across the web and in other platforms as well. And to actually advocate what's called brand advocacy, to influence, to encourage young people to influence each other. Facebook has created this notion of social ads, which turn user behaviors that may be routine behaviors like fanning a product or going somewhere or writing something into a branding opportunity that then can be orchestrated to go viral. It's all become very automated. This is just a very quick slide that I won't go through in any detail, but it emphasizes a couple of things. This idea of earned media and paid media. So it's not all paid media anymore. A lot of it's earned, so that it is, as Mimi said, much cheaper to do a campaign. And the idea is that you can amplify this message over and over and over and over through the social relationships that are online in these social media. And also the concept of engagement, which is very important. I'm not going to show you, there's a video to this, but I'm not going to show it, but I'm just going to show you one brief little slide about a recent Oreo campaign, and also just to underscore that some of the largest food and beverage companies are clearly in this space. They're clearly targeting adolescents, no question about it. And Kraft Foods was celebrating the 100-year anniversary of Oreos. They created a social media campaign that involved user-generated content, encouraging people to send photos with Oreo cookies, showcase their artwork, post call to action questions, And a recent interview with an Oreo executive quoted the executive as saying, where the value of, say, Facebook comes in is when you see customers playing the content back to you. There was a 100-day campaign that offered different whimsical, humorous, eye-catching ads each day to the more than 27.9 million people who like Oreo on Facebook. It was aimed at an intergenerational audience, but clearly teens were in that mix and were clearly targeted as well. And as the New York Times reported, between June and August of this year, the likes, comments, and shares increased by 110% for this brand. So that's just one example. There are other examples as well of the impact of social media campaigns, certainly from industry sources. And we've done some case studies of some of the most effective of these campaigns by major food and beverage brands that you can find on digitalads.org. Also, you can see this list here of the top food and soft drink brands on Facebook and the number of fans that they have, which is an important part of that strategy. Now, the second point I want to make is that we are in an era of big data, where data collection and measurement and targeting are all woven together into the content and the functionality of digital media. I've been working on a report with my colleague Sonia Greer and with Jeff Chester to really try to unpack how this system works. And it's very complicated and it's changing very, very quickly. It's kind of hard to get a handle on, but it's very, very important to understand because it's really the engine that's under the hood of e-commerce here. It's the driver. And if you look at Facebook, Facebook has many, many, many companies working with it, as to all of the digital marketing companies that do this kind of analytic work that can identify behaviors, track behaviors, monetize behaviors, and trigger behaviors at the same time, both online and offline. The levels of precision here are really unprecedented. And they're able to do it now from the marketing message to the purchase in the store. And so it's really, really an important part of how all of this works. It also means that marketing is increasingly targeted not at demographic groups necessarily, but at individuals. And they don't even need to know your name. Of course, on Facebook, they do. They know your name. They know the names of all your friends. They got you. And they can bring that information in and marry it with other data from other resources. We just had a briefing from some of the people in the industry or working with the policy community talking about the level of granularity of this kind of data collection and the precision of the kind of targeting that takes place. This notion of micro-targeting and delivering personalized messages that are based on your detailed profile and the behaviors with which you've been, in which you are engaging, as well as psychographic characteristics. They're also able to target you, to follow where you go, and to retarget you wherever you may be. And the content can be changed instantly to respond to user actions. There are ad exchanges where all this is happening in microseconds. That is the way the system is working. That's where it's headed. This is just a quick slide with some of the many, many companies doing various kinds of data collection, measurement, and targeting that are part of this growing infrastructure that we need to understand. The third trend is that mobile devices are now at the forefront of marketing, and they are bringing in a whole new set of techniques, and in many ways, I think they're transforming marketing. We know mobile use among teens as well as children is soaring. We know also that kids are using and teens are using their mobile phones to access all the social media, to interact with one another. I don't have to tell you about texting, just ask my mother. She knows how glued young people are to their mobile phones. We also know that African American and Hispanic teens use them more often, do more things on their mobile phones, are more dependent in many ways. This affords marketers 24/7 accessibility, and it's introduced a range of techniques, including geolocation, geofencing, geomapping, a number of things that are important to mobile marketing. And also, interestingly, the point of influence is now linked with the point of purchase. Now, I have a video. I'm out of time. I wish I could show it to you because it's a really very good illustration of how mobile marketing is working. This is a global campaign around the Olympics, but you can find it online and take a look at it. Coke's also, this is a Brazilian campaign, but they're actually providing Wi-Fi, free Wi-Fi to kids in Brazil. And another emerging development that we must take note of is this notion of local location payment systems. Mobile phone is now going to be used to actually buy the product. So what does this mean? This means we have a new complicated marketing paradigm in which marketing is fully integrated into teens' personal and social lives. It's this 360-degree cross-platform media and marketing ecosystem, disappearing distinctions between new media and old media. It's all the same. And each marketing experience is now individualized. And we're closing that loop between persuasion and purchase. Many implications for research. I have a number of papers that we've written about this that I'd be happy to share with you. But we believe we need to approach research in a different way when we look at teens and when we look at digital. It's a different system, and Mimi already mentioned that. It's not direct cause and effect. It's not linear. It's much more complicated. We have to take a whole lot of different things into account. And particularly with teenagers, we need to look at how their own developmental and emotional and social characteristics affect all of this in order to understand it. There's a lot of work to be done. There are many things I could say about policy, since I'm working in Washington on a lot of these things directly, but I will simply say that I think we have some opportunities. We've put teens in play, as we like to say. We have included adolescents now, and we've gotten them into some of the agendas, particularly around privacy at the Federal Trade Commission and at the White House. So we need to do more, obviously. Many, many other things we need to do in order to ensure that we begin taking a serious look at how teens are being influenced by marketing in this digital era and what we can do to encourage changes and to enable teens to lead healthy lives. I'll just put one little slide there for a resource for lots of our materials. That's digitalads.org, and thank you very much.